Have you ever felt trapped inside your own mind, unable to stop the endless loop of thoughts? You lie awake at night, tossing and turning as your mind spins stories about what could go wrong, what you should have done, or what might never happen. You try to focus, to relax, to move forward, but the more you fight, the louder the thoughts become. Overthinking can feel like a prison, where every wall is built from doubts, fears, and what-ifs. But what if I told you that you don't have to live like this anymore? What if, right now, you could start taking control of your mind, reclaiming your peace, and finally living without the weight of constant mental noise? If you stay with this video till the end, you'll discover 10 powerful ways to stop overthinking, ways that can change how you think, feel, and act every single day. Overthinking is more than just a habit. It is a signal from your mind that something is unresolved, a sign that your brain is desperately searching for certainty in a world full of unpredictability. The human mind is wired to solve problems, to plan, to anticipate danger, but when this wiring goes unchecked, it traps you. Thoughts that should guide you instead become chains that hold you back. You start to doubt yourself, question every decision, and magnify the smallest mistakes into mountains of regret. The reality is, overthinking doesn't make you smarter. It doesn't protect you from failure. It slowly steals your confidence, your energy, and your joy. And yet, there is hope. Because the very mind that overthinks is also the mind that can learn to master itself. Take a moment and think about the last time you spent hours, or even days, thinking about something that never even happened. Maybe it was a conversation, a decision, or an opportunity you were afraid to take. Notice how exhausting it feels. That exhaustion is not weakness, it's a warning. It's your mind telling you that it needs direction, structure, and release. Overthinking is like trying to run a race while wearing heavy chains. You are capable of incredible things, but your thoughts are holding you back. And the most liberating truth is this: freedom from overthinking isn't about stopping thoughts completely. It's about learning how to handle them wisely. Imagine your mind as a stormy ocean. Waves rise, crash, and churn endlessly. You cannot stop the waves, but you can learn to navigate them. You can learn to sail, to ride through the storm without drowning. Overthinking is the storm. The techniques you'll learn in this video are the tools to steer your life, to regain control, and to find calm amidst chaos. They are simple, yes, but their impact is profound. Small changes in how you approach your thoughts can create massive shifts in your confidence, your focus, and your happiness. The first step is awareness. Most people overthink without even realizing it. They think it's normal to ruminate, to doubt, to plan endlessly. They think their mind is a storm they must endure. But the truth is, your mind is not your enemy. Your thoughts are not your prison guards. They are messengers. And once you learn to listen correctly, to respond instead of react, you start to feel a weight lift, a weight you didn't even know you were carrying. The freedom you seek begins with understanding that the power to change is already within you. By the end of this video, you will not just have a list of tips. You will have a mindset transformation. You will start seeing overthinking not as an unchangeable habit, but as a challenge you can conquer. You will learn how to quiet the noise, how to take decisive action, and how to live in the present instead of being trapped in endless mental loops. Imagine making decisions confidently, without second-guessing yourself. Imagine moving forward in life with clarity, energy, and purpose. That life is possible, and it begins the moment you choose to take control. Every human being experiences overthinking at some point. It is part of being alive, part of caring deeply, part of wanting the best for yourself. But the difference between those who remain stuck and those who break free lies in action. It lies in learning how to take thoughts captive instead of being taken captive by them. Overthinking doesn't define you. Fear doesn't define you. Your past mistakes don't define you. You are defined by your ability to rise, to act, to change, and to move forward, even when the mind protests. If you have ever felt exhausted by your own thoughts, overwhelmed by indecision, or paralyzed by fear, know this: you are not broken. You are awake. You are aware. And that awareness is your power. Right now, in this moment, you have the opportunity to transform the way you think. You have the chance to reclaim your mind, your energy, and your life. And it all starts here. Stay with this video, because by the end, you'll have 10 actionable ways to stop overthinking, and you'll see your mind as a tool you can master, not a burden you must endure. It won't be instant. Change never is. But the tools you will discover are designed to work with the psychology of your mind, with the way human thought naturally functions. They will guide you, step by step, from chaos to clarity. And as you apply them, you will start to feel lighter, more focused, and more confident. You will start to notice a calmness that you thought was lost. You will start to act decisively, without the endless hesitation that has held you back for so long. And most importantly, you will start to trust yourself, because trust is the foundation of a mind free from overthinking. The reward for watching till the end is not just knowledge, it is liberation, it is clarity, it is the first taste of peace after years of mental struggle. It is the moment when you realize that the chains of overthinking are not permanent, and that your mind can be your greatest ally instead of your fiercest enemy. So, take a deep breath and prepare yourself. This is not just another list of tips. This is a path to freedom, a journey from doubt to confidence, from hesitation to action, from noise to clarity. Stay with this video and let your mind transform. The moment you choose to learn, to act, and to release is the moment your life begins to change. The truth about overthinking is that it comes with a hidden cost, a cost most people fail to recognize until it's too late. Every time the mind spins, it drains energy that could have been used to create, to move forward, to live fully. Each mental loop that revisits mistakes, doubts, or fears chips away at confidence, leaving behind hesitation and regret. Overthinking is subtle, almost invisible, yet its effects are profound. It steals your focus, your clarity, and even your joy, quietly convincing you that worrying is a form of preparation, when in reality, it only prepares you for paralysis. Your mind becomes a battlefield where imagined threats feel real, where indecision replaces action, and where peace seems forever out of reach. Understanding this cost is the first step to breaking free, because only when you see the damage can you begin to stop giving your power away. Overthinking often disguises itself as caution. It tells you to analyze everything, to plan for every possible outcome, to avoid mistakes at all costs. At first, this feels responsible, even smart. But what starts as careful thinking quickly becomes a trap. When every decision turns into a debate in your head, and every minor setback becomes a catastrophe, overthinking begins to dominate your life. Days are spent in mental loops instead of meaningful action. Opportunities pass while you weigh endless possibilities. Goals remain distant because energy that should be building momentum is wasted spinning on hypothetical scenarios. The mind was meant to guide, not imprison. It was designed to solve problems, not create them out of fear. Recognizing this distinction is essential because once you see overthinking for what it really is, you start to take control. One of the reasons overthinking is so exhausting is that it creates a false sense of urgency. The mind convinces you that everything is pressing, that every decision could change your life in ways you must anticipate perfectly. But life is not meant to be lived inside this constant alert mode. The endless loop of what-ifs and should-haves gives the illusion of control while actually eroding your ability to act. Psychologists call this mental exhaustion cognitive overload, and it affects every part of your life, your relationships, your work, and even your health. Your brain is not a machine designed to operate at full speed without rest. It needs clarity, structure, and intentional focus. Overthinking robs these essential resources and leaves you feeling stuck, anxious, and frustrated. The impact of overthinking goes beyond the mind. It infiltrates your body. Tension rises in the shoulders, a knot forms in the stomach, the chest feels heavy, and sleep becomes restless. Stress hormones surge unnecessarily, keeping the body in a state of alert for problems that exist only in imagination. Overthinking is not harmless. It has real, measurable effects on energy levels, productivity, and emotional well-being. Recognizing this connection between mind and body is critical because it shows that stopping overthinking is not just about changing thoughts, it's about reclaiming your life. Every moment spent in endless contemplation is a moment lost in vitality, creativity, and forward motion. The next key insight is that overthinking rarely solves problems. In fact, it often makes them worse. When thoughts spiral without resolution, they amplify fears and magnify doubts. You imagine outcomes that are unlikely or impossible, and your mind convinces you that these scenarios are inevitable. Instead of clarity, you get confusion. Instead of strategy, you get hesitation. The brain is powerful, but it is not infallible. Left unchecked, it can turn small challenges into mountains. Understanding this is liberating because it means you don't need to rely on overthinking to survive. Your mind is capable of reasoning, planning, and reflection, but only when it is guided consciously, intentionally, and purposefully. One reason overthinking is so common is that humans crave certainty. Your brain seeks patterns, tries to predict outcomes, and wants assurance before acting. This drive is natural, but it becomes a trap when certainty is demanded in a world that is inherently unpredictable. Life is full of variables, and no amount of analysis can guarantee perfect results. Those who achieve more, those who live freely, do not wait for certainty. They act despite uncertainty, and in doing so, they discover clarity. Overthinking feeds the illusion of control, while action builds real control. Understanding this difference is crucial. The sooner you internalize it, the sooner you can start shifting from endless mental spinning to purposeful movement. It is also important to realize that overthinking often stems from fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of the unknown. This fear disguises itself as logic, as careful planning, as responsibility. But underneath it, it is always fear. Fear keeps you small. Fear convinces you to postpone, to hesitate, to settle for less than you are capable of achieving. The first step to overcoming overthinking is naming this fear. When you see it clearly, it loses its power. Awareness is the key. Once you recognize that the mind is reacting out of fear, you can respond with courage, clarity, and confidence. Finally, consider this. Overthinking is not permanent. It does not define your intelligence, your abilities, or your potential. It is simply a habit, a mental pattern that has developed over time. And like any habit, it can be reshaped. It can be trained, guided, and transformed. Every small step taken to quiet unnecessary thoughts, to focus on solutions instead of problems, and to reclaim energy for action creates a ripple effect. The mind that once held you captive begins to serve you instead. The chains of hesitation weaken. The fog of doubt lifts, and a sense of freedom emerges that feels almost impossible at first, but grows stronger with every conscious choice. Understanding the cost of overthinking is not meant to create guilt or shame. It is meant to awaken determination, to ignite a desire for change. Awareness is the foundation of transformation. The moment you recognize how much energy, clarity, and opportunity are lost to endless mental loops, you begin to value your mind as the incredible tool it was meant to be. This understanding fuels motivation. It fuels the willingness to take deliberate steps toward change. and it fuels the realization that freedom from overthinking is not a dream. It is a decision. Every thought you release, every moment you reclaim, and every choice you make intentionally is a victory over the habit of overthinking. It is proof that the mind is flexible, that change is possible, and that life can be lived with clarity and purpose. By understanding the hidden cost, seeing the patterns, and recognizing the fear behind your thoughts, you are already beginning the journey toward control, confidence, and peace. This awareness is the spark that will carry you through the next steps as you learn the powerful strategies that will quiet the mind and open the door to a life full of action, freedom, and fulfillment. Overthinking doesn't happen by accident. It emerges from patterns, habits, and hidden triggers that you may not even notice. Many people believe they are simply naturally anxious or prone to worry, but the reality is that overthinking is a learned response. It develops when the mind feels the need to predict outcomes, prevent mistakes, or control uncertainty. This doesn't mean it is unchangeable. It means the first step toward freedom is understanding how it works. When the mechanisms behind overthinking are revealed, the power to interrupt them becomes clear. You begin to see that your mind is capable of immense focus, creativity, and problem-solving, but only when it is trained and guided with intention. At its core, overthinking is rooted in attachment to outcomes. The mind becomes obsessed with what must happen or what could go wrong. It convinces you that endless pondering is necessary to succeed, to avoid failure, or to gain approval. Yet this attachment is a trap. The harder you cling to certainty, the more your thoughts spin, and the less action you take. Life is unpredictable. Events cannot be controlled completely. The power lies not in trying to predict everything, but in cultivating the ability to respond, adapt, and move forward despite uncertainty. Once you internalize this, the urge to overthink begins to weaken. You begin to realize that action, not endless analysis, is what produces results. Another reason overthinking takes hold is the brain's natural bias toward negativity. Humans are wired to notice danger, threats, and mistakes. This evolutionary survival mechanism once protected lives, but in the modern world, it often works against you. The mind exaggerates problems, focuses on errors, and assumes the worst-case scenario. These patterns create mental loops that feel urgent, but are usually unnecessary. Recognizing this bias is critical because it allows you to step back and see your thoughts for what they are. Reflections of the mind's survival instinct, not absolute reality. When this distinction becomes clear, you no longer give every thought the power to dictate your actions. Fear is another major factor driving overthinking. Fear of failing, fear of being judged, or fear of making the wrong choice pushes the mind to dwell endlessly. Overthinking masquerades as caution, but underneath it is fear controlling your decisions. The mind repeats scenarios over and over, trying to protect you, but in doing so, it keeps you stuck. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the ability to act despite it. Recognizing fear as the source of overthinking is liberating because once you identify it, you can take deliberate steps to move forward. Every small act of courage weakens the hold of endless thought, and each decision made despite uncertainty builds confidence and momentum. A hidden aspect of overthinking is the illusion of control. The mind believes that by analyzing every detail, it can prevent mistakes and ensure perfect outcomes. Yet the more you attempt to control, the more frustrated you become when reality refuses to cooperate. This constant desire for control leads to indecision, wasted energy, and mental fatigue. True power comes from understanding that control is not about predicting everything. It is about mastering your response. You cannot stop life from being unpredictable, but you can stop allowing your thoughts to dictate your emotions, your choices, and your sense of self-worth. When this shift occurs, The mind becomes a tool, not a trap. Overthinking also impacts your relationships and interactions with others. When thoughts spiral, it is easy to misinterpret situations, assume negative intentions, or imagine conflicts that don't exist. Communication becomes clouded, trust is questioned, and connections feel strained. By learning to manage overthinking, you not only reclaim your own clarity, but you also improve your ability to relate to others. A calm, focused mind perceives reality more accurately, makes better decisions, and communicates with confidence. Every moment of mental stillness strengthens your ability to connect authentically and take action in life. The path to breaking free from overthinking begins with awareness and understanding. Recognizing the triggers, the fear, the attachment, the need for control, is the first step. Once identified, you can interrupt the pattern before it escalates. Techniques such as pausing before reacting, questioning the validity of thoughts, or redirecting focus toward what truly matters are highly effective. Each intentional action trains the mind to shift from rumination to clarity. Every time you practice this, you weaken the habit of overthinking and strengthen the habit of conscious, decisive thought. It is important to note that the mind thrives on structure. Overthinking often fills a void, feeding on unstructured time, boredom, or indecision. When the brain has no direction, it generates chaos. Providing structure, through routines, clear priorities, and focused attention, reduces the opportunity for unnecessary mental loops. Even small steps, like writing down tasks, setting limits on thinking time, or creating a clear plan of action, can dramatically decrease overthinking. The brain responds to clarity by relaxing, focusing, and taking action. Equally vital is self-compassion. Overthinking often comes with self-criticism, guilt, or shame. The mind repeats harsh judgments, which only intensify mental loops. Treating yourself kindly and acknowledging that overthinking is a habit, not a flaw, interrupts this cycle. When self-compassion is introduced, thoughts lose their grip. You begin to see mistakes as learning experiences, uncertainty as a natural part of life, and fear as a signal to act rather than a reason to freeze. This shift transforms mental patterns from loops of doubt into loops of growth. Finally, the mind responds to intentional focus. Overthinking thrives on scattered attention, but directing attention deliberately toward meaningful action, toward achievable goals, or toward the present moment trains the brain to think less and do more. Focus is like a muscle. The more it is exercised, the stronger it becomes. Over time, the mind learns to prioritize, to filter unnecessary noise, and to act decisively. Each act of focused thought builds momentum, confidence, and freedom from the endless mental cycles that once dominated life. Understanding how overthinking develops and why it continues is not just theory, it is empowerment. It reveals that the mind, no matter how chaotic it seems, can be guided. It shows that freedom from overthinking is achievable. It proves that clarity, calm, and purposeful action are within reach. Awareness, structure, focus, and self-compassion are the pillars of this transformation. Once these pillars are in place, the mind shifts from an endless spiral of doubt to a clear path of intentional action. Every step taken toward understanding and managing overthinking is a step toward reclaiming your energy, your confidence, and your life. The patterns that once held you captive are now visible, manageable, and transformable. Awareness brings control. Understanding brings freedom. And every conscious decision you make strengthens the mind's ability to serve you rather than hold you back. By recognizing the roots, triggers, and mechanics of overthinking, you are preparing yourself to embrace the strategies that will follow, the tools that will guide you from mental chaos to clarity, from hesitation to decisive action, and from fear to confidence. The first step to breaking free from overthinking is realizing one simple yet powerful truth. You are not your thoughts. Most people confuse their thoughts with reality. They believe every idea that crosses their mind is a reflection of who they are or what will happen. This is where overthinking gains strength. When the mind mistakes imagination for truth, it magnifies fear, doubt, and uncertainty. But your thoughts are not commands. They are temporary, fleeting experiences, like clouds passing across the sky. You have the ability to observe them, to acknowledge them, and to decide which ones deserve attention. Understanding this distinction is revolutionary because it shifts the power from your mind to your awareness. Suddenly, you are no longer trapped by every fleeting worry or imagined scenario. You are free to act, even when thoughts scream otherwise. Observing your thoughts requires presence. When overthinking begins, notice it. Pay attention to the mental chatter without judgment. Most people are so identified with their thoughts that they accept them automatically. A thought arises. I might fail, or I am not good enough, and instantly, the mind believes it. Awareness changes that. By stepping back, even briefly, you can say internally, "This is just a thought. It does not define me. I choose how to respond." This small shift creates enormous mental freedom. Over time, this practice rewires the brain. The mind starts to serve you instead of controlling you, and the endless cycles of doubt lose their hold. Separating yourself from your thoughts also reduces emotional intensity. Overthinking often fuels stress because people attach emotion to every idea that enters the mind. When a thought triggers fear, frustration, or worry, it feels urgent and real. But when you see that it is simply a passing mental event, the emotion begins to fade. You no longer react automatically. You gain a space between stimulus and response. This space is where choice exists. In that space, you can act wisely, calmly, and intentionally, rather than being swept away by imagined problems or exaggerated scenarios. It is in this awareness that true clarity is born. The brain will naturally try to pull you back into overthinking because habits are strong. Thoughts that trigger anxiety, self-doubt, or indecision often arise automatically. This is why the practice of observation is ongoing. Each time you notice a thought without attachment, you strengthen your mental resilience. You learn to question the urgency and validity of each idea. You begin to realize that not every thought deserves energy or action. Some are simply noise, echoes of fear, or reminders of old patterns. By choosing what to engage with, you regain control of your mental energy, freeing it for productive action and meaningful decisions. Understanding that you are not your thoughts also allows you to challenge limiting beliefs. Overthinking often grows from repetitive ideas like, "I am not capable," "I am always wrong," or "I will fail." These thoughts feel like facts, but they are not. They are mental habits shaped by fear and past experiences. When you separate yourself from these thoughts, you can evaluate them objectively. You can ask, is this really true, or is it just a projection of fear? Questioning these beliefs diminishes their power. The mind gradually learns to distinguish between constructive thoughts and destructive patterns. Confidence begins to grow because it is built on awareness and intentional choice, not on reactive thinking. Another important aspect of this mindset shift is accepting uncertainty. Overthinking thrives on the desire for absolute control and certainty. The mind struggles when outcomes are unknown, generating endless scenarios and what-ifs. By realizing that thoughts are separate from reality, you can approach uncertainty with curiosity instead of fear. A thought may suggest a negative outcome, but you are not obligated to believe it or act on it without evidence. Life is unpredictable, and that unpredictability is not dangerous. It is natural. Accepting uncertainty reduces mental tension and allows you to take action even when the path is unclear.